Good morning.
Good morning. So we got a lot to go over today.
Yes, jam-packed.
So we've got a law firm involved in the OnlyFans lawsuit getting fined for AI involvement.
Tempting.
We've got Abbott Labs demanding immunity for issues with their baby formula. We've got
it's killing babies.
We've got Dan Bonino leaving the FBI.
I love Dan.
There's been some mass shootings lately.
Horrible.
And then tragedy in the Nascar world with Greg Biffle and his family dying in a private plane crash.
Horrible.
A lot to talk about.
Yes, let's get into it. But first, I have to mention AmFest is going on. And I'm not sad I'm not there. And what's funky about it is every bone in my body, every other year or every other, I don't know, time would have wanted to be at something like that.
So wait, back up for a second, because I don't know that everybody knows what AmFest is. I certainly didn't a few years ago.
Okay, would you explain to everyone what AmFest is?
It's the Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's organization that he founded.
Correct.
This is their big annual, convention?
Uh-huh.
You've been.
Yes.
A couple of years ago.
Yes.
How was it?
It was great. I mean, being a patriot and getting in there and meeting all the people. And I met Trump's photographer, and I met the one Jewish guy that helped Trump when he was sick. He was a doctor. Unfortunately, he passed away since then. I mean, I was there. I was in the middle of it. My friend was getting texts from Lara Trump. Like he knew, you guys have seen, that's Bob. Bob is,
right.
Bob's been on the podcast, and it was great. It was like this, you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, and you have this great, amazing feeling about it. And, I voted for Trump 3 times. I was one of the ones that supported him from the beginning, even though everyone thought I was crazy. And they're like, how dare you? I'm from Chicago. You got a lot of liberals out there. And I'm having a hard time with the whole TPUSA thing. I just am. I feel bad saying that. Like every part of me goes, okay, she's a widow. They're mourning the death of this beautiful individual that started TPUSA, Charlie Kirk. I love Charlie. I listen to him all the time. I see in my memories on Facebook, I shared a lot of TPUSA stuff, fully conservative. I'm not feeling good about this change. Like the fireworks and Erika walking up and talking about this is what Charlie would want. And just, I am icked out.
Why?
We struggle with our brains, right? Like, no, at least I do. Brain and intuition, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. And my brain says, Megan, shut up. Shut up. You're a business owner in the Phoenix area. TPUSA's in Phoenix. Erika's in Phoenix. My makeup, all these people are connected. Why don't you just shut up and support this? Because if by you supporting it, you'll get more people to watch your podcast and you're part of the group and that's how that all gets started, I think. That's how all these people end up like Tucker Carlson's Christmas party. A guy mentioned yesterday he was there on another podcast, and he said, you had Candace there, you had Marjorie Taylor Greene, you had TPUSA, Candace Owens, and people that have been arguing on social media and on the news, offering a drink to this person, hanging out.
Okay, so back up for a second. So you're saying that there were these people who have been outwardly very opposed and very vocal opposition to each other.
Yes.
But
see, I can see how that is, because here we are getting on the show and I'm like, should I even say that I don't want to be at TPUSA? And you're like, yes, you should just say how you feel. And it's hard because, hey, you've got a podcast, you want people to listen to it. And, when you're in that middle ground, almost like where you're not fully to the right or you're not fully to the left, and you're kind of like in this murky, weird water, you almost feel like, well, you're going to get judged. I mean, I was getting judged the other day from conservatives because I didn't like what Trump said about Rob Reiner. And I know, I've heard it a million times. You don't have to be, Rob Reiner was a jerk. Rob Reiner did this. And he threatened Trump's life. He couldn't care less when he got shot, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But you still don't do that as the president of the United States, in my personal opinion. You don't speak that way.
Well, he was very, very vocal and very nasty about Trump, right?
Yes. Oops, I just hit my chin on the microphone.
And there are a lot of people that he ticked off about that. There were a lot of people who, when Trump was almost assassinated, came out and they were cheering and they were saying, we wish that the shooter got him. I mean, what about those people?
What about those people? I mean, if you, and I get it, everyone's like, you should understand, Trump's a truth teller. What does truth have to do with having decency? What does truth have to do with, you can think it, you're not, but if two wrongs don't make a right. Didn't we learn that in kindergarten?
Yeah, but you always say, and you're like this, you always say, good or bad, people always know where you stand. Good or bad, people always know where Trump stands. He's not hiding anything like that.
But nobody needed to know that. He needed to remind everybody where Rob Reiner stood. And by him stepping above that and just saying, oh, this was a tragedy. It was a tragedy. It's a tragic situation when your son murders you. That's tragic. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, no,
that's tragic. Either don't say anything at all, or say, hey, this was a tragic thing that I hate seeing in America because you're the president. I don't endorse anyone murdering anyone. Okay? Don't be the judge and jury. And people can look back and go, you know what? Wow, he took the high road with that. We know. People know that are involved in that what Rob Reiner said and did.
So I guess what you're really saying is when Trump's posting those things, he needs to recognize it's not Donald Trump, the person, that's saying it. It's the president of the United States. It's the office that's saying it.
Correct. And he's already been elected. The people that elected him, I know a lot that are friends with me did not agree with what he had said. And so you feel like you have to have a classiness, at least with death. I mean, we get it. You get it. Trump is out there. He's saying, he said a lot of awful things about different people that, a lot of us felt they deserved. Not when it comes to death. You just don't do that. You take the high road.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually do agree with you about this. I think that there's a time and a place for things. And I think that's a time for him to rise above that, and put his feelings aside about that person personally. And what I thought about was when Trump found out that Ruth Bader Ginsburg had died, and you could tell he was confronted with it, and it was the first time he heard it, and the cameras were on him, and he said something very gracious and very eloquent. And how many times did people on the right, the conservatives, repost that and comment on it and reuse that and turn it into a meme and champion him as somebody who rose above the opposition and did the right thing and said the right thing in the position of the commander-in-chief of the United States.
Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have eloquence and grace.
So he's got it in him.
Yes, he does. And he's human. He can make a mistake, but I'm allowed to speak out on it just like I'm speaking out about AmFest. And I guess I'll have people that disagree with me.
Well, getting back to that, I mean, there's this sort of shift in this division in people who now know about Charlie Kirk and AmFest and Turning Point USA, and this division in the conservative movement about whether you support them or whether you don't support them. I mean, break that down. What's with the not supporting?
Well, I don't even think it's just not supporting. It's not like I don't support what TPUSA represents. That's not a thing that where you're like, I don't support where their heart is, or maybe where the people that worked for Charlie, their heart is to, speak up and, explain
Because at
Christianity to
its
people.
core, it's a grassroots effort
Correct.
that helps the conservative,
Correct.
the Republican Party with conservative thought and getting
Correct.
people elected.
But you didn't see Charlie with fireworks everywhere and trying to make billions and billions of dollars. Maybe he did make some money, but it's now I feel like Charlie's name is being used to do something that it just feels different than what Charlie did.
Yeah, it's that ick feeling that you mentioned.
It's just an ick feeling that I have. I, as a mother, as a wife, as a business owner, everything in me calculates and goes, this woman is a widow. This woman has to take over this business. This woman is a mother. This woman has to do all of these things. And at the same time, something is not right.
Well, we talked about it from the very beginning with her. And it's almost as if everything that she does is a performance.
Yes.
And I think people see insincerity. They see right through it. And I mean, I think that's what we're picking up on, right?
Yes. Yes. You just feel the fakeness. You feel the insincerity. You feel this. And I don't know if I don't even know personally if it's like, oh, they killed Charlie and now they're trying to take away his voice. So we have to amp it up a million times more. And this is a marketing thing where not fully marketing, but you know what I'm saying? Like we have to hit it hard by doing X, Y, and Z. Well, if that's the case, you're losing people.
But they've got so much money pouring into Turning Point that it seems like they should have people who are marketers that are guiding them with it. And it feels like they're making marketing mistakes, doesn't it?
Well, yes. And, the sad part, even too, with us being, having a nonprofit, and you see how much money is just pouring in there. And you see these other nonprofits and people coming to me asking us for money. It's like, how come people that are the little guys like us, we don't ever get donors? I mean, we get some like trickling in here and there.
Right.
But it's like these people that already have so much money, like so much money. We wanted to help out a person through the law firm and getting them a car, calling car dealerships. It's like, oh, sorry, we already gave a car to the biggest church in all of Arizona. Sorry, you can call somebody else. Can you help out with Tones and Bones? Oh, sorry, we already donated $50,000 to Turning Point. And, you just kind of get a little disillusioned because you're like, wait a minute, why are you giving it to the big machine that already has so much money? And doesn't TPUSA understand that they're like coming in, like if you were to see a cartoon and it's this big machine just sucking up all this money? And I'm not saying they're not going to do good things with it. I hope that they do. But I'm currently, it's feeling like I'm watching the Super Bowl of Super Bowls and there's this big act going on and everybody's pulled into it. And I'm not saying everybody has wrong motives. And
they came out vocally against Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, kind of driving that wedge further, don't you think?
Well, they did, but then Candace and Erika met up, and it's now like you're watching a housewives show and now they're getting along. I mean, and then you go back to the party and you're like, okay, like I feel like at the end of the day, once again, you feel like you're being played.
Well, we've talked about it again and again and again. We feel as the little guy, like maybe both sides are in it together and they're putting up this fake front of the two sides, polarizing people. And in the end, they're manipulating people and all working towards their same goal, what works in their best interest.
Absolutely. Good cop, bad cop.
Right.
That's been around forever.
Totally.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
Well, do you want to get into all the stories that we have for the day?
Yeah. So you heard about the attorneys being fined for using AI. It's in the OnlyFans lawsuit.
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the attorneys, what is the word? It said AI hallucinated part of her.
Yeah.
Can you get into it?
We're actually seeing this more and more. show up in court cases and in sanctions against attorneys where they're using AI, and AI is hallucinating case citations and saying, this is the case that says X, Y, and Z. So judge, you have to follow this law. And they're citing to actual cases. And then you find out later on, it was completely made up. AI is making it up.
And I read that they actually have made decisions in
Sure.
court based on that.
Sure.
And from what I hear, like even from your divorce, sorry, I go back to that, because the judge was recused off of your divorce for
Right.
being biased towards you.
Right.
Once that's made, can they go back and change it? Because I've heard that you cannot change that once it's in there.
So,
I mean, obviously you can appeal.
yeah,
but if
yeah.
that's,
There's appeals. There's also an ability for a judge to go back and change his own opinion if he so feels like it. There's also addressing opinions and decisions if there's some sort of fraud or misrepresentation, which that would qualify. And that's why those attorneys are getting fined, because it's tantamount to fraud on the court.
So how are we going to, with AI, they're going to have to figure out something where, what if they come up with a picture as evidence? That's AI.
This is
that's
brand
scary.
new area, and it's terrifying. It is, because that's exactly right. You've played around on Grok and ChatGPT creating images and videos.
Yeah.
Even.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's scary because it looks real.
It looks absolutely real. And you're right. There could be evidence that is presented in court of a video of somebody doing something, and it's completely AI generated. It's scary.
Well, I'm glad that they figured this out with this particular situation. And how many lawyers are sitting here right now going, oh, I did write that through AI. And, people, even business owners, everything, they're writing it through AI. And what if it doesn't hold up in court and you're trusting AI?
Yeah. So, I think that's the bigger picture. And I think that's what everybody needs to take away. This is not just a lawyer and a judge thing, because judges have written opinions and they've used AI and been found out later on there's hallucinated case cites in there. So it's across the board. And I think the bigger lesson for all of us is use the AI. It is just a tool. It is not the final thing. You've got to use it as your framework, as your basis, but you still have to put the effort in. You still have to do the independent investigation. You've got to do the research. You've got to write it yourself.
Especially with law. A lot of people, I've talked to them and they're like, oh no, I have my contracts written by AI. How do you know they're going to hold up in a court of law just because AI told you?
Yeah.
It's an inexpensive way to get yourself into an expensive situation.
Yeah. Well, and that, goes back years ago. Everybody remembers when LegalZoom came out. There was this company that came out and they were putting all this stuff on the internet, pay whatever, $50 and you get a stock contract for something. It's the same kind of thing. You can do that as your framework, but really to be safe, you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to know what to go in and pick and choose and rework a little bit. And we've done that. I've done that where I've used it for tones and bones, for things that, areas of law that I don't practice. I've studied them. I have the base knowledge of it, and I can go back and I can do the research and kind of round it out. Give me the framework, but then I have to put in the effort and create it so it's tailor-made to work for whatever that situation is.
But you're a lawyer, so to you, you're like, okay, this kind of makes sense.
Totally.
Whereas just somebody that's opening an art business and it's going to be like, oh, I'm going to rent out spaces. Let me legally have AI write me a contract that I think it's good. And I ask AI, are you sure this is good? It's good.
Yeah.
And then somebody comes in that's a lawyer that maybe does art on the side and is like, no, this contract is not. So I wonder how many people are out there with actual contracts that have holes in them.
There's quite a bit. I mean, we'll periodically do business with somebody and we'll get a contract that's spit out by AI or whatever. And I can tell right away. There's certain things that you see in contracts that yes, somebody knows what they're doing when they put this in there.
Yeah.
There's things that need to be in every contract. There are things that don't fit every contract, but there are things that you look for that say, okay, this person is thinking about all these other paragraphs. That's why they have this in here. It's linking this together. It's bringing in this law. This I studied in school. I know why that's in there. Yeah, you can tell when it's done right. And it really, you've got to be careful with that.
I agree.
Yeah. That OnlyFans thing, I guess it's a lawsuit against OnlyFans, and they're being sued class action because they're saying that OnlyFans is tricking people into spending more money on OnlyFans.
But this is something that I heard about years ago. Our SEO company that we used like 8 years ago, they had talked about something where it's like porn sites where you can have a chat with someone, but then they pretend that this person's a person, but you're really just talking to a computer.
Yeah, chatbots,
but
right.
You're paying to talk to someone, and that's illegal. So they're basically what I read too, and I might be wrong and I might be misspeaking, but from what I remember, they said that they're pretending to have them talk to these OnlyFans members, and they're or OnlyFans call girls, workers. I don't know.
No idea.
What do they call them?
So far from knowing
hoe bags?
The specifics of OnlyFans. But
thank God you don't know.
Well, but I think.
It was so funny. Hold on, let me. So I had asked Jack. I'm like, Jack, because I was just making a joke about a couple that we know. But I said, Jack, do you think they could have been recording an OnlyFans video? Do you know if there's couples on OnlyFans? He's like, Mother, I don't know.
Why would I know?
I'm like, oh, thank God you don't know.
Yeah,
but anyways, they, is that something that's illegal where you can say you're talking to somebody, but you're not? I mean,
I don't think that that's the issue with it. I think the issue is they were convincing people to spend more money by pretending that they're not associated with OnlyFans. So it's this little twist of fraud in there of inducing them to spend more.
Wow, a manipulation in business.
Yeah, which they can do. They can, every business, you go into any store across the country and they say, oh, that's a really nice shirt you're getting. Hey, we have this cologne right here. You want to buy that too? They're trying to talk you into spending more. Yeah,
so why is the one legal and one's not?
It's
like, where's the law with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's in whether they're being open and honest and upfront about it. So in other words, you walk into a store, it's a given that they're trying to sell you things. You, I guess, get a subscription or whatever to OnlyFans. I don't know if that's the way it works, but they're using people, if they had people who are associated with it saying, hey, upgrade to this type of a membership and you get X, Y, and Z, that would seem legal. But if they're having people who are not appearing as they're associated with it and saying, if you spend X, Y, and Z, then you get this, then that's fraudulent. That's not truthful. That's tricking people into spending more. And I think that's what the lawsuit's about. Whether it actually pans out or not, whether they win the case or not, remains to be seen. Yeah. I mean, that's what we talk about all the time with legal cases is a lot of times there's no clear black and white. Yes, this is legal. No, that's illegal. It's always this, well, it's legal until a court says or a jury says that it's not legal. And that's kind of where we are.
And it's just based on opinions.
Yeah, totally.
All right. What's our next?
You want to talk about this Abbott Labs thing?
When you told me about that made me so mad.
Yeah. So it's this Abbott Labs produces baby formula and
for preemies.
For this one formula is specifically for premature babies. And the allegation, I just want to correct you because earlier you said that it's killing babies. That hasn't been proven. And they're taking the position that it's not doing it. But the allegation is...
Well, babies have died, and they're claiming that formula has killed them.
Exactly.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not a lawyer. Don't sue me.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm here.
Go through him.
Right, exactly. So the claim is that there's this specific necrotizing enterocolitis that is killing the premature babies. So they're taking this formula, and it's causing something horrible to happen in their colon, and they're dying as a result. So they're getting sued. And so Abbott Labs turned to Congress and public opinion and says, look, give us immunity against these lawsuits so that we can't be sued or we're not making our formula anymore.
Well, if you look into it too, they say that preemies supposedly have a very difficult time digesting cow milk. So it's, a mother and her nursing and the way that the body is as a preemie, it really needs mother's milk. And if they're premature, the mother won't be able to give milk. So they're saying that there's options. You can have donated, donated milk. And
is there a market for that? Is that really a thing?
Yes.
Oh.
So you can get donated milk. You can have another mother that donate their milk. And obviously it's not for the age of the preemie. But what they're saying is that's also not an excuse for Abbott Labs. They knew that knowing that cow milk can harm a baby, it almost like there should be a black box warning. I don't know.
Well, see,
how does that work?
Their defense, what they're saying is that the science is not supporting that that's what's causing it, that their formula is
breast milk. I said mother's milk. It's a breast. I couldn't remember the name.
One in the same.
Booby milk. I nursed my kids for 2 years each, so I am very well aware of nursing. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was so happy when it came into my head.
Yeah, I see that. I'm glad it came into your head.
Breast milk.
Right.
Sorry.
Anyway, they're saying that first of all, the science doesn't support that their formula is causing this. So they think that they have an absolute defense to it. Secondly, they're saying that they are going to get so many lawsuits, they're going to have to spend so much money on defense that it's not worth it to them to continue. And thirdly, they're saying they've already complied with all the FDA requirements, all the governmental restrictions on it. And because they're within the bounds of what they're required to do, they shouldn't have to be sued and defend themselves.
Well, think of it this way too, like devil's advocate here. As a mom, you're mad and you're like, wait a minute, you knew this is risky. But at the same time, you have a preemie. And what choice do you have if you can't get breast milk? You also risk when they say I have to give your preemie this medicine and it may cause X, Y, and Z. I think you're at the mercy of wanting that baby to be okay and alive. And if they are at the point where they're like, hey, this is the best formula that can be made, but preemies reject cow's milk and it could cause this necrotizing, whatever you call
enterocolitis, right?
Then you as a mother, but I think it's more of like what you were saying, the awareness. Are they being made aware? Hey, by the way, this is serious. Or is it under the rug where they want to sell the milk? And, that's where these sleeves make me want to do this. Like, like, woo! What's that lady's name with the black hair that she's like,
Elvira?
Anyways, I'm going to be doing this a lot. Sorry. But so I agree in the fact if they think that they have made the formula up to standard, then that's all that they can do. But at the same time, if it's been hidden from these parents so that they could sell more and they didn't make it as serious, like, hey, just so you know, you can do this formula, but this is the risk.
Well, and see, that's what product liability lawsuits come down to. A, there's a dangerous product, and or B, they failed to warn about the dangerousness of the product.
Right. So I'm kind of like in the middle there. I mean, I feel bad in the fact that like you're put in that situation as a mother to try and save your child as a preemie, and they're having to do all of these life-saving measures, but thank God we do have the ability to do that.
But what are parents of preemies supposed to do if they're told your baby was just born prematurely, baby needs something to eat? Your choice is this that could harm them or what?
Well, that's the same thing. There's probably medication that the preemie has to have to try and grow their lungs or do things that could also cause harm. So it's not just the milk. There's other things that are happening. So maybe at that point, the milk is also treated like a medication, where you can do natural, where if you can find someone that has breast milk, you can give it to the baby, or the hospital has a 1-800 number, breast milk for mother. I mean, I don't know.
They have blood banks. Can they do
correct
breast milk banks?
They probably do. We have to look that up.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it seems like that'd be a great idea.
Yeah. But so now we're making you aware, Abbott Labs, if you have a preemie, or you are, be aware that cow's milk could possibly cause your preemie to have this issue.
Yeah. And you know what? The issue with that on the legal side of things for me really comes back to, should a corporation have immunity for their product just because they're following federal regulations and they don't want to have to defend lawsuits? And
no.
I don't agree with that.
Oh, yeah, no. Ew.
I mean, I agree with accountability. I agree with corporate accountability. And I feel like if there's immunity, then that does not drive safer products.
No, heck no. Why would they have to try? Because, a lot of companies are just about, give me the money.
Right.
Dollar bills.
If there's no accountability, there's no push for them to make their products safer. And
absolutely not. And that's with everything. Like, how many times have we been in Mexico and I'm like, holy cow, there's a giant hole that I could have fallen in right next to this the pool.
Right.
Or there's like big, huge thing in the pool where the water the drains that are like sucking you in.
Yeah.
And as much as people hate personal injury attorneys, those safety things that we have around us, it's because of personal injury attorneys and lawsuits, because on their own, they won't fix those things.
Yeah, I mean, you hear the jokes all the time. I mean, we see the what is it, the curling iron, and there's the warning tag on there
for do not
external use only.
I mean, who made them put that?
But at the same time, something happened somewhere, and the company saw that, you know what? In order to avoid being sued, in order to avoid having those defense costs, we better put that warning on there.
Yeah.
So now for people who think that that's a thing, they know better.
Or at least you hope they do. And they're not liable.
But that's an extreme example of the warnings. But there are a lot of warnings. We see them all the time now, and they should be on things. They should be there to tell people. And put a warning label on that. And honestly, if Abbott Labs doesn't want to make their preemie formula anymore, you think that no other company is ever going to come out and make a formula?
I don't know. Maybe they don't want the lawsuits either.
Yeah, but maybe it's worth it to them. I mean,
maybe
if they're making a safe product, they're going to make a lot of money.
Or maybe it would push people, if there's not that product, to, I'm sure there's tons of moms out there. Obviously, I don't know how medically that works, that would be willing to sell their breast milk and, give it to the hospitals, or even donate it if it's for a preemie.
Yeah, that'd be worth it to know.
Sometimes when you close one thing, you open something better.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I mean, I think that's a real faith-based kind of feel to that statement as well. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always about having God guide you, but then in general, even if God's, if you're not a Christian and God's not guiding you, I think God is guiding everyone to a certain degree. Because if one person's being guided, then you're affected by that, the ripple effect.
Sure.
And I think everything has a spiritual meaning, if you ask me.
I like it. All right. You want to talk about Dan Bonino for a minute?
Heck yes. I love Dan.
Yeah.
But I saw that he's leaving the FBI. But what's weird too is I heard a few months ago from somebody where their brother was going to go work up in DC, that he had heard back then that they were cleaning house and they were going to get rid of Dan. So I don't know. That's just, you know what I mean? And that could have been a rumor. But anyways.
But they haven't really said a whole lot about why he's leaving, have they?
Well, he did. He said that his wife isn't doing well, and they feel like he feels he's divorced from his wife, which is a very real thing.
It's a demanding job.
And I'm sure there's more to it that we're never going to know.
But I guess it brings up sort of burnout in the workplace. I mean, that's a real thing. If there's some burnout and separation from his family, that's got to be hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
That's why we feel it's important that the law firm only works from 9 to 5, where a lot of attorneys will work 50, 60 hours a week.
Right.
We feel like, going back to our last podcast, and if you haven't watched it, you better watch it. Family, the core of your family, and
Sure.
being there for the core of your family for multiple reasons. And if he can't be there, what is he investing in? Is it more important for him to invest in America and the FBI, which, I don't know, with this whole Charlie thing, it seems like they're not too great in my mind, but.
Yeah, but I heard Kash Patel and Pam Bondi both commended him for his work there and said that, the country's a better place because of him. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. So what? What? I mean,
I think it's important for him to do what's best for him and his family.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that has to be a priority.
I feel like there's a lot of little sound bites that people say that make no difference.
Yeah. We had a discussion. I'd love to tell this story. We had a discussion years back about me working as an attorney. And I love to tell this story.
Oh.
So I woke up one morning and it was just one of those mornings where everybody's had it. You wake up and you're kind of sluggish, don't feel like getting out of bed, don't feel like time to make the donuts, doing the same routine again and again and again. And I looked over at you and said, maybe I don't want to be an attorney anymore. You remember what you said?
I do. You go ahead. Tell everyone what I said.
You said, okay. That simple, that quick. You did not hesitate at all. And I was absolutely floored. And at the same time, because I was joking. I didn't mean it at all. I never thought for a second, I'm not going to work today. I'm not going to be a lawyer anymore. I was just totally joking. And you said that, and instantly there was this weight on my shoulders that I didn't even know that was there that just lifted. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, what? You really don't care. And you did not. Your sincerity was so true. You don't care what I do. What you care about is our marriage, our family, and our God. And not even in that order, but those are the core issues that you care about. And it was such a relief. It was such a energizing thing for a wife to say to a husband, for a business partner to say to another business partner, yeah, all right, if you don't want to do it, let's do something else.
Well, because what does it matter if you have all the money in the world and you're not happy?
Yeah.
I'd rather have not a lot of money and happiness.
Yeah, totally.
And if you're not happy being a lawyer, then let's figure something else out. And we can do it. And it still stands true today. I mean, I always say that I own my things don't own me.
Yep.
And I could be happy in an apartment, or I could be happy in our giant home. I feel very blessed. I always want to know what God is guiding us to do. I'm always here for it. I'm always going, okay, well, I guess if this doesn't work out, there's a lesson in that. I guess if I'm going to speak out about something and people don't like it, maybe there's a lesson for me in that. I just want to live this life to the fullest, and it doesn't have a specific, it doesn't have to look an exact way. Like, success is not just having a bunch of money and having a lawyer for this. And, it's not just a definition of what it has to look like.
It's a hard thing, particularly for a lot of guys. I can only speak for guys, but knowing guys that I know and have known, so much of our identity is tied into our work. And I don't know how do women feel about that when they're
It's being
working?
a mother. I would say that for me, it's being a mother. I mean, I know there's women that can't have children, and so they would have to tell me what they feel that they are prideful for. And I would say being a mom is a big deal for me, and feeling like I have my emotions in check for the most part, and I can handle what's coming my way. I would say that if someone said I was a bad mom, or I wasn't, being the best that I could be, that would
sting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think guys have a difficult time getting to a point where they can switch careers, they can retire, they can stop being that identity that they may have been for 30 plus years.
Well, I hope Dan goes back to his show, because
Yeah, right. It was a great
I loved
show.
watching his show.
Right.
And at least he's then with his wife, and I don't know if his studio's in his house or where his studio is, but
yeah,
I hope that it works out for him.
I hope so too.
By switching gears here.
In a way, we feel like we saw that identity of guys in their career with your dad.
Oh, yeah.
He was a cop his whole life. And
youngest chief of police of Illinois.
And there was some talk towards the end of his life of whether and when he would retire.
Yeah, he retired on a Friday and died on that Monday.
Yeah, and I don't think he retired willingly at that point. He wasn't.
No, because he felt he was really sick and he was already training someone.
Yeah.
But I feel like everything comes back to where you feel like you're making a difference in your life. So if you feel like you're making a difference by being an attorney, then you feel valuable. You feel valuable.
Sure.
If I feel like I'm valuable as a mother, so that's where I'm getting my value from. If I can't be a mom, why am I here? You know what I'm saying? If I can't be a lawyer, why am I here? If I can't be a cop, why am I here? What is my purpose?
And I guess the equivalent to a guy retiring and feeling like he's losing that identity would be the same as empty nesters when all the kids leave the house for moms.
Absolutely. You're like, why am I here? Especially if you found your value having kids, or you found your value in giving back. And it's okay to have value through that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with loving on other people. There's nothing wrong with helping other people, being an attorney. It's just that if you look at your life as a pie, and let's say your career is 90% what fills up that pie, then you have issues.
Yeah.
You have to have your health, you have to have your spiritual life, you have to have your job. And that's where you have to kind of maybe come back and reflect on your life and say, what is making up my entire life? Because you better start switching gears. And
practically speaking, what's that look like to switch gears? I mean, what do you do?
You have to feel the pain of saying, this is not who I am.
I mean, do you get a hobby? What do you do?
No, for me, it's like the kids are getting older and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I find complete value being a mom. I've had to think about who I am. And that's the hard thing, because I think that we've always been taught we are what we are versus who we are. And I think that it's hard for us to really undo that, because you've been hiding behind who you are, what you are versus who you are. And it's easy, just like when people say, oh, it's easy to have a lot of money, because when you're poor, you have to be more creative and it's very difficult if you get sick and everything like that. But it's always about, I don't know, vices. So your job can be your vice. Money can be your vice. And you're not really learning and exploring who you are. It's easy to numb yourself with your identity, with your money you're making, whatever it is. Whereas if you sit down, and I've sat down with myself and I'm like, okay, Megan, you feel like you would absolutely not know what to do with yourself if your kids weren't here. Why? Why do you feel that way? Well, because I have put so much value in being a mom. It made me feel like I mattered. Why? Because at the end of the day, I don't feel like I matter. I may matter to God, but I don't feel like I matter to people around me.
You do.
I know, but I don't feel that way. So it's easier for me to numb that by going, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just go be a mom.
But what's the next step after you get to the point where you say, okay, that's why I'm feeling that way, because I feel like I'm getting all my value from that. What's the next step? Where do you go from there?
Prayer, therapy, learning where you can maybe meet new friends, working out, getting a hobby, trying to find what you like, maybe taking tests, personality tests,
Yeah, you like doing that online, those personality tests.
Oh yeah, I love it when it says like, "Oh, you're this, this, and this," and then it pulls up something negative about you, and then I can blame you for.
Why does that always happen? You get these glowing kind of, you're the greatest person ever.
Not true.
And then I take the test and it's just all about.
Not true.
Well, you suck.
Not true. Not true. Well, we took the disc test. I'm an influencer, driver, and then my organization and something else is low. Your least is driver. You're driving. You're like driving is like this small, which we balance.
Yeah.
Because mine is like.
But I'm great with organization and building systems.
Which mine is low.
Yeah.
So that's why we make literally the perfect match.
Yeah.
I'm the decision maker. You don't like making decisions. However, you're organized with it and I am not. Well,
and that's why it works for the law firm too, is because you're the one that's out in the forefront, thinking about marketing and not just that, but how can we make a difference? The giveaways and the charitable things that we do and just, getting us out there moving, we need to start focusing on X, Y, and Z and going this direction. And I'm following that with you and my head's down working the cases and having the procedures and the policies and, going through and kind of getting this case from A to Z.
But it's a funny joke. You always are like, who's the boss, but you don't want to do those things.
No, I don't have any interest in doing that.
So it's funny because it's not like I'm this controlling person.
No.
Literally sometimes I feel like, and so not to make it about us because we want to go back to Dan. His wife has been very, obviously brave because I couldn't live this long without you being around. And so it's interesting being in a relationship. It's interesting the dynamics, what one person does, the other person picks up,
sure.
and so on and so forth. But yeah, anyways, I didn't mean to switch gears like that.
No, that's okay. No. And I hope he does go back to his podcast. I always enjoyed listening to him as well. I don't know how he'll do without, his Goliath of the Biden administration, because it seems like a lot of what he was doing was, the David of the Republican Party with the Goliath of the liberals in power. And that's where, his core was with that.
But it's okay. Everything changes. There's a time and a place for change, thank God. And we're always moving forward and there'll be something else for him to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally agree. Totally agree. What's next on the agenda?
Chinese poo-poo platter?
Mass shootings.
Oh, no,
lately.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I hate seeing this come up in the news.
But the thing is in Australia, they have very restrictive gun laws.
And yet still a mass shooting happened.
Yes.
Yeah. Being very clear where we stand on gun ownership.
We believe you should be able to own guns.
Yeah.
I mean, also you should be able to own a car, but you should not be drinking and driving.
True.
And you should not be having a gun and mishandling it just like a car.
Right. And we had Jeff Smith on the podcast before. He's a firearms instructor. He's just extremely experienced. And he says again and again, when I train you, I'm training you so that you hopefully never have to use your weapon. You never have to pull it out. And I think that's the right attitude to have, but you're still entitled to have it.
But then look at it. You're a sitting duck if you're not holding a gun. But I don't know, just like you've talked about before. And I saw a video once where these people were police officers in training and somebody came in and they had their guns in front of them. And someone came in and was like, fakely shooting. And they all they're stunned emotionally. Right. And so I think you do have less shootings if you think you're going to walk in somewhere and you know that everyone's going to be able to shoot you. I mean, how many shootings have been at NRA's conventions?
Yeah, I don't know the stats on that, but I'm thinking probably not many.
I don't think there's a lot. We need to look at that. How many shootings have been at NRA conventions? I mean, you're going to get shot.
Yeah, I would think somebody doesn't make it out of that alive. But for the people that do it, I don't know that making it out
People
alive.
that do what?
That do the shootings.
Oh.
I don't think that making it out alive is really a goal for them or
No,
deterrent.
I think that it's the most amount of people that they can shoot before
Yeah.
they're killed. But I
Yeah.
think if you go to an NRA convention, it will be short-lived.
Yeah.
But how do you bridge that gap between mental illness? That's where it always goes back to.
But is it always mental illness? And they say that so much, and it always comes back to that. I don't think it's always mental illness.
No.
I mean, I guess
Well, I mean, everybody's mentally ill.
you got to be somewhat ill to pull out a gun and shoot a lot of people.
Sometimes it's, come on, let's just be real. It's not. It's a set up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not propaganda. It's not meaning. I'm not saying it's fake. What I'm saying is, it's not politically motivated, and it's not coming from a bigger source.
I think that is a very real possibility.
You know, and they say, "Oh, it's just this random person." There it goes again. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what people are doing. And yes, there could just be the random psycho that goes in there and kills a bunch of people because they're pissed off because they're a trans, or because there's a lot of trans that are.
Yeah,
They say more
there's been
men,
some history.
more
of that.
men than women though do the killings. I don't know if that's the testosterone or what's happening, but I don't think we're ever going to fully stop the shootings. I think we can have more security, but then how do you live your life?
No, I agree with you. I think you have to sort of put that aside, the fear of that. We can't live in fear, right?
No, you can't. I mean, look at the Vegas shooting. They said that was motivated by gun sales, and it was somebody from, Saudi Arabia or something like that. But then it's like, here's this guy that they blame it on that's dead inside of there. And they're like, there's no way. There were multiple shooters. I mean, at the end of the day, just like with Charlie and all of this, we're not going to get rid of guns. So if you're on here thinking that people are going to get rid of guns, they're not. Is there going to be motivation to kill other people? Always. I mean, I wasn't alive during the Middle Ages, but you see all these movies and people are killing each other constantly.
Right.
They're constantly killing each other, whether it's poison or, that's why they used to clink the glasses or whatever. It's,
iocane powder.
what?
No, sorry, that's The Princess Bride.
Didn't what's his face?
Rob Reiner. Yeah,
yes.
that was one of his movies. Great movie. I don't agree with Rob Reiner, but great movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. What frustrates me is not that there's the conspiracy theories, but there's so much that's left open that the only way you can fill the gap is with trying to figure it out, because they're so not forthright with information about shootings, about the Vegas shooting, about, these other things, that it leaves room for quote unquote conspiracy theories, but they're not telling us things.
Well, the thing of it is too, is you look at these news. I was watching Tucker. It was Joe Rogan, and he was showing a comedian, I can't remember his name at the moment, where every single news, he had about 20 news shows on, and they're all saying the same thing.
Oh, right.
And you could control it more when you didn't have so much social media. So you literally would come out and say, this is what happened. Everyone's saying the same thing. The newspaper's saying the same thing. It's the same owner who's saying whatever. When you have social media, you have these, this one lady the other day, Candace, she went out and talked to Erika, and I could tell she was talking to us in Morse code because she was blinking so much. And then you got the people that are like, yes, that's true. And there's just so much wild coyote crap going on that nobody knows what the truth is. And you know what? The people that do this crap, they love that because it's distractions.
See, but that's what I appreciate about
me.
I appreciate it about you. Yes. But also Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, when they're on their platform, on their podcast, they're not saying, this is not what happened, this is what happened. They're saying this happened, but doesn't that raise this question, and this question? And they get attacked by like Ben Shapiro saying, well, they're just, dangerous conspiracy theorists and They shouldn't be doing that.
But don't you think there's a book that they all know? Like, you sound like this straight, honest, sturdy person.
Yes.
Well, you sound like the wacko.
Yes.
I mean, there's not psychologists out there going, hey, you be this person. We know if you're this.
We said it earlier, good cop, bad cop.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's what's going on. But even if you don't think that's what's going on.
I mean, I like Tucker, but at the same time, he's a mouthpiece and he's way up there, just like all the rest. And
yeah.
if the powers that be didn't want them to be, they wouldn't be.
But separate that for me for just a minute. The whole good cop, bad cop, and them being on the same side of things in the end. I agree. And where do you stand? I agree with their approach, Tucker and Candace, saying, I think you've got to ask these questions. I think, if that doesn't sound right with the narrative, I think we're entitled to ask questions and say that doesn't sound right. I mean,
yes, but that might be all the same team.
It might be.
I mean, we could be sitting here and you might not be saying anything, and we want to get people to like me. And I'm like, Ken, come on, let's be real. Don't you think you need to ask questions to the judge and the jury and da-da-da-da-da-da-da? And you're like this bad guy where you're like, no, I don't have to ask anything. And then like, we plan this.
Yes.
And I know, then I'm sounding like a crazy person. It just is too much.
No, that's the conspiracy
it's
theory.
Too much.
That's really the conspiracy theory, but I don't think that it's outside the realm of possibility. And I think if we're not considering that, it's a mistake. But what I do appreciate, I don't appreciate people like Ben Shapiro saying that Tucker Carlson is dangerous for asking the questions and giving platforms
I don't
to
like
people.
Ben Shapiro.
No,
he's a narcissist.
But what I don't like is I don't like the fact that they're trying to shut people down who have a counter voice. I think you open up the counter voice. I think you ask the questions, and I think any party, any industry that is not subject to scrutiny. Again, this goes back to the immunity thing with immunity for corporations.
Correct.
If they're not subject to scrutiny, then that's a dangerous situation. And if you can't doubt your leaders, if you can't doubt your own party, if you can't not like what Trump said, that's dangerous.
But who's doing that really? Is it them or is it us? Who's doing that? Are we like, woohoo, we're on this side? Did Candace really say that we can't go and listen to TPUSA?
No.
I mean, yes, TPUSA, those guys were saying, Candace is crazy, but it's like, who really are the ones that put their, I don't know, I almost want to say their thumb to stop stuff. It's their followers. And they're like, how dare you? It's like, I love Conservative Ant. And it's like, I watch his stuff all the time. And the thing that he was talking about is like, you could have someone that goes, oh, Aunt, I support you, blah, 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 blah. You're so wonderful. And then the next day, he does something to support Candace, or he does something. You're a piece of da-da-da-da-da. It's like bipolar.
Right.
It's like people act so bipolar, and you want to say, hey, relax. It's not like a ping pong ball machine. People can have different opinions.
It's not one or the other, ever.
No.
It's not ever one or the other.
Yep. And so, anyways, it's a shame with all of the shootings. It's sad that it's not going to stop. I believe that through prayer, we can try to protect ourselves, our family, to be more enlightened on how we can do that. Through prayer, through seeing also, yes, how can we try to fix this situation?
Yeah. And in the end, we have to counsel our families. We have to counsel them in prayer and seeking God through it all. God's there in the good and the bad. And that's what's important for us as Christians, is to seek God regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got next?
Well, another tragedy. And this was the NASCAR world feeling this the most. Greg Biffle and his family on that private airplane that crashed.
It's so sad. It's so sad. And yet, I feel like so many famous people have passed because of personal aircraft or, a helicopter with Kobe. And that's a funny story. I mean, not him dying was a funny story.
I'm glad you clarified.
No, I met Kobe's wife and I did not know who Kobe Bryant was at the time. And this was years ago, and we were at a spa together, and she was in the waiting room, and she asked me what I did for a living. And then I said, oh, what do you do? And she said, oh, I'm an at-home wife. My husband's a famous basketball player. And I was like, oh, okay, who's your husband? And she told me Kobe Bryant. And I was like, I don't have any clue who that is, because just don't watch anything sport-wise. And I had to remember his name and come out and be like, Kobe Bryant, Kobe Bryant, Kobe Bryant. Don't forget the name. Don't forget the name. And I called you and I'm like, do you know somebody by Kobe Bryant? You're like, yes, why? I looked it up. I'm going to put on my readers. There's many people that have died in these private aircraft. And I would like to name some of them. Paul Walker, but he died in a car crash, but it's worth mentioning. Let's go back. Buddy Holly.
Right.
Richie Valens.
They were on the same plane.
The Big Bopper.
All three on the same plane.
Yep.
That was the day the music died. A lot of people don't realize that.
Patsy Cline. She died in a plane crash in Tennessee during bad weather. John Denver.
Right.
Jim, I don't know who this is. Leonard Skinner members. Charter plane ran out of fuel in Mississippi.
Right.
You know, they've honestly taken some of the most influential voices out of music and more. It's really sad.
Yeah. There was years and years ago, there was a professional golfer named Payne Stewart, and he was famous because he was a very good golfer, but he would dress in the NFL colors every tournament. He was licensed by the NFL, so he might wear a Bears outfit, Bears colors if the Bears were doing well, or something else like that. And he was on a private jet, and it was in the news because it was flying over the United States, and they just completely lost contact with it. But they were tracking it on radar, and it just kept flying and flying and flying until it eventually crashed, ran out of gas and crashed. And I guess at that one, they said that there was something that happened with the cabin pressurization, and all people on board, died, and it just kept flying. That was a really weird one.
I'm grabbing my water.
It's an issue with smaller private jets, but it's not just that, because commercial airlines,
so what do people have to do to protect themselves legally? Like, if I know there's lawsuits and stuff when there's accidents and things like that. So if, this particular person that just passed yesterday, the NASCAR, what's his name again? I'm sorry.
Greg Biffle.
Greg. So Greg and his family, if they own that, how does that work exactly? Who are you suing? If there is suing, is it like a maintenance company that maintains the airplane? If you were to go on most people don't own their own private plane, and they're not flying on a private plane, but let's say you are flying on a private plane, or you get on an airline. When you buy those tickets, are you waiving your rights to money if something were to happen? Can you tell us a little bit more what our rights are legally?
Yeah, so it's different with commercial airlines and with private planes, because commercial airlines, it's almost exclusively going to be the airline that's liable. They own everything, they control everything. There is so much redundancy and procedures that they are required to follow by the FAA that there's something that they likely missed and did wrong, and they will likely be the responsible parties. When it comes to private planes, they say that you have to follow the investigation period. You can't name who you're suing and who's responsible too early. You have to let the FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board do their investigation, and then you go off of that, because they will determine it. It can be pilot error, it can be poor maintenance, it can be the owner, it could be the charter company. There's so many different things.
So these charter companies, like let's say you're on Hawaiian helicopter rides over looking at the volcanoes or whatever, and you crash, you could try and go and sue them, but they could say, oh, no, it was due to pilot error, and this guy was a contractor.
Yeah.
But what if that contractor didn't have insurance? So the helicopter company is required to make sure that who they're hiring has the right credentials.
Yeah. So then you
insurance.
get into a negligent supervision, negligent training and retention kind of claim, because you'd want to make sure that the corporation is primarily responsible. But again, you would have to follow the evidence, and if the evidence pointed just to pilot error, then that's where it is. But there's got to be some type of training and supervision element to that as well.
So what happened, and I'm not going to go over the 9/11 thing because there's a lot of conspiracy with that, but let's say you're on a plane and there's a terrorist attack, and how does that pan out? And so the plane now crashes because of a terrorist attack. Is that nobody gets anything then?
Yeah, so that comes up, and we, getting back to contracts that are written, there's a lot of times in contracts and probably on the backs of our ticket, well, they don't have backs of tickets any longer, but there's probably small print
on your phone
in the e-ticket that says that they're not responsible for quote unquote acts of God. And so that's their out.
But how is a terrorist attack an act of God?
No, but that's their argument.
If they let them on the plane and they didn't secure that.
It's not black and white. That's going to be their argument. So the person bringing the lawsuit would say, yeah, you had an obligation. You knew that we were in danger. We were vulnerable. You had an obligation to keep us safe. Their defense is that was an act of God. We couldn't predict that. Okay, so
could you sue TSA for allowing them to bring on a bomb or a gun or something like that?
So that's a possibility as well. You get into another area of immunity, and I haven't looked at TSA specifically, but there's sovereign immunity. And that's interesting because I find it interesting anyway, from being in the law. Immunity stems from the King of England, believe it or not, years and years and years back. And immunity comes from the concept that, quote unquote, the king can do no wrong. So you could never sue the king. When we founded our country, we brought that concept over and turned it into sovereign immunity where the government cannot be sued. Before anybody says, well, wait a minute, I hear about lawsuits against government all the time. The government cannot be sued unless they specifically carve out laws that say, okay, in this area, you can sue the government. So the default rule is sovereign immunity, but we've made inroads where there's so many different areas where if the government does this, if they're negligent here, we can sue for that. That's where we get past sovereign immunity. So I haven't looked at TSA, but that would be an issue for me that I'd have to look at if somebody contacted us about that. Is there immunity for TSA in letting people through the safety barriers? I would think not. I would think that they are responsible. They have an obligation to do their job and to do it responsibly.
Because once again, it goes back to what you're saying. If you can't be sued by it, where are they holding that standard?
Where's the responsibility? How do you get them to be better? I mean, if they let somebody on with a shoe bomb, they get better by making us all take our shoes off. Same concept. They've got to get better. They have to make sure that things don't get through.
All right. So we don't know who Greg's family, the ones that are living, because there were 7 people that died.
Yeah.
Who's responsible, whose plane that was, who was...
No, there will be a full-blown investigation. The NTSB investigates all of those, and they're actually phenomenal at their job of putting planes back together. I mean, bit by bit, and they'll recreate how the plane actually physically looks in a hangar or something. They take all the pieces and they'll hang them. So they recreate this plane so they can find out what part failed, what went wrong, what hit where, what was it that, went wrong with the recorders, the voice recorders, the data recorders, all of that. And they really do a good job of putting that back together, piecing it together so that the people who have a right to pursue know who to pursue.
And I think that that's a good right to have. I think, as much as people, a lot of people will say, I would never sue, or I would never be that person because it's just an accident. But if we're not suing and we're not making somebody responsible, because unfortunately, the only way to make big corporations or people responsible is having to pay.
Yeah, you hit them where it hurts. You hit them in the wallet. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because when it comes to car accidents and injuries that are more regular that we handle, the focus is more on the compensation for our clients. When you get to plane crashes and the families of victims of plane crashes, so much of that focus for them emotionally is on the why. Why did it happen?
Yeah, of course. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see why. Why would this happen? Because you're trying to wrap it up like a nice bow.
Yeah, I mean, we all have experience driving cars. If somebody's involved in a T-bone accident, the why question would be, okay, who had the
Right.
green light? Why did that happen?
Why didn't they
But
stop?
that's something that we can answer or at least argue fairly quickly and directly, and people understand that. When it comes to plane crashes, there's a lot of just mystery about why it happens. So that's really the focus for those people.
Prayers go out to them.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Prayers go out to all the shooting victims
without
in
a
the last
doubt.
month.
Without a doubt.
So we have a recommendation before we shut it down. And it's kind of an intense movie.
Yeah.
Mind you, there is one scene that has to be blocked out. I think there's like a girl in some magazine or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty tame, I would say. And but it's a really deep movie.
Yeah, I think so.
So
it's called The Holdovers, and it stars Paul Giamatti, which he's a good actor. I really enjoy the work that he does. And it takes place in like 1970 at a very exclusive boys boarding school in the Northeast. And so they're, a bunch of rich kids. And it's not a holiday movie, but it takes place at holiday times, at Christmas time, because the holdovers, quote unquote holdovers, are the kids that don't have a way to get home or something going on at home. They have to stay at school, and Paul Giamatti is the teacher who's assigned to stay with them. And there's one other person at the school, the cook, who's assigned to stay with them. They're all the small group of people are the holdovers through the holidays.
But in the end, what's the purpose of the movie to prove?
So it comes down to, and the characters are kind of nasty in the beginning. A lot of them have issues. And in the end, it boils down to doing the right thing, regardless of whether it's easy, regardless of whether it helps you and your career or your school career, whatever. In the end, do the right thing.
Yeah.
Even if it costs you.
Absolutely. And that's what this
it's a
movie
good message.
proves. Yeah.
It's an enjoyable movie. The acting's good. The storylines are really good.
All right.
Yeah, that was fun. We recommend that one. It was a good one.
Oh, and by the way, Merry Christmas. Because it will be happening before we are back to see you guys.
Yeah,
So
we'll have to
Merry
come back for a
Christmas.
post-Christmas wrap-up.
Absolutely.